Doing a check here real quick. Devin is behind the scenes as always. Huge thanks to Devin real quick while he runs the massive technology center right behind us. We're just going to make sure we're live, checking audio, and then we'll start our show. But again, we appreciate very greatly everyone joining us tonight. We have a great show lined up for you. So we're locked in, guys. Welcome to Tightline Live, guys. Again, we are myself. I'm Nate Zelinsky, owner-operator of Tightline Outdoors, and this is Tightline Live, where we are coming to you from in-studio. Our goal here is to promote education and to make everyone a better angler, catching more fish and bigger fish. Guys, tonight's entire show is brought to you by Bass Pro Shop. So a huge thanks to Bass Pro for providing the platform for us to go live. So we really appreciate that. And again, wherever you're listening from, we know we have listeners from all across the country. Appreciate you guys being here. Bring your questions, guys. This is all about an interaction. Our goal is to, again, answer your questions, promote education, to hopefully where, again, everybody's catching more and bigger fish. So huge thanks to everybody from that. So guys, we're going to get started here. I got to say also, huge thanks for everybody else. Mr. Heater is also going live with this show. So huge thanks to Mr. Heater for providing all of their followers and fans education. So huge thanks to Mr. Heater. Huge thanks to Bass Pro Shops of Denver, and then obviously everybody on our own Tightline Outdoors page. And if you're watching this, again, everything is coming to you from that Tightline Outdoors page. So you want to always go over there and give them a like, and definitely you'll see more information, more education, things like that. So again, that's the platform that we're going live on. Guys, tonight's show, we're going to be talking about current conditions, talk about hot bites. But coming up here in about 15 minutes, we're going to be going live with a guest. Every week we try to go live with a guest, national guest. Guys, and tonight's guest is right on line with the guests we've had on this show. I mean, literally legendary anglers, people that are literally the best in the business. And tonight, we're going live with a guy that's literally made his name in the trout steelhead world. But hands down, you would never want to fish against him for smallmouth. You'd never want to fish against him for walleye or pike. The guy's amazing. So we're going to be going live with Eric Haataja. Very excited about that. So if you are a fan of Eric's, if you've seen his pictures, I don't think there's anybody in the country that catches more fish than this guy. So especially coming local here from Colorado, if you are a trout fisherman, tonight is the night to bring your questions. Everybody's been talking about ice fishing, fishing pressured waters. This guy right here is going to have some insight to be more successful in those type of situations. So again, coming up here in just a couple minutes, we'll be joined by Eric Haataja. So again, make yourself comfortable. It's going to be a great show. We talk about anywhere where you're coming from. Again, we're broadcasting live from Colorado, but we have people in Florida and the Midwest. Most of the country, especially the Midwest and out here west where we're at in Colorado, we're about to get hit with a major cold front. Coming up here Thursday, we have snow and cold, and we have basically a 2-week storm that's coming through with drastically colder temperatures. And depending on what type angler you are, if you're an open water angler, this cold front's going to slow things down. You're going to really have to slow down your presentations. Your fish are going to stack tighter. So you're really going to have to fall on your patterns and cater to those fish to be on top of it. If you are an ice angler, this is literally music to your ears. The concept of colder water, we're going to now see ice. If we didn't have ice, we are now going to see ice. So, coming live here from Colorado, we're beyond excited about it, just for the fact that right now we're in full prep for our tournament coming up. So if anybody is unaware of some of our biggest events at Tightline Outdoors, the things that we run on a daily basis, our Ice Addiction Tournament Series is coming up here. We basically have 5 events, 3 in Colorado, 1 in Utah, and 1 in Idaho. We give out $26,000 in prizes per event. So literally over the course of the thing, we're $130,000 in cash and prizes. So we are beyond excited about that. Our first event is January 6th. We've been waiting for this cold front. We're literally 3 weeks away, and we've been needing this cold front, and it is here. So we're very excited about that. We'll be building ice very, very quickly. So it's just a good thing to have. And again, a lot of the Midwest, everybody's talking about when's the ice going to come. This cold front is going to lock it up for us. So for all the ice anglers, in the United States and Canada, this cold front is coming right in time to really make the most of that ice season. So we're excited about that. And the big thing we talk about with early ice, obviously safety is number one. We spent a lot of time on the ice this week, and a spud bar was crucial. Spud bar helped us out crossing pressure ridges and finding that bad ice. So we definitely needed it this week. So it was great to have the spud bar and preaching ice safety. But once you are on good ice and you're on that safe ice to fish, early ice, brings some of the biggest and best fishing of the year. Your second portion is obviously late ice. There's a lot of times on late ice that brings some absolutely incredible fishing. But the number one thing, everybody asks myself, hey, Nate, as a tournament director, as a full-time ice angler, what do you look forward to the most? And I got to say that of everything we target, the early ice on the big lake trout is probably my most exciting moment of the year. Strictly for the fact that a lot of people misunderstand lake trout. They misread them. They don't understand the entire system. When in reality, early ice is key for almost any fish just because, again, everything calms down. They're hungry. For a lake trout, they spawn in the fall, so they're in post-spawn. So not only do you have the benefits of early ice, everything calming down, everything, just kind of having the effects of early ice, you also have the fact that they are still in a binge feeding mode in a post-spawn fish. So a lot of your fish are spawned in October and November. This early December hits ice ups, and they're literally on the tail end of that post-spawn, so they're still gorging, they're still super aggressive, and it just makes for an amazing bite. Now, the biggest thing with lake trout is to ask yourself, what do these fish feed on? We've been talking about this for literally 3 shows. We opened up a couple weeks ago talking to Gary Parsons about food source and how you go about catching fish and utilizing that food source. And lake trout is probably the number one fish that I really encourage you, the anglers, to know what your fish are feeding on. So we say that right now. Let's say you've lake trout fished once in your life, or you lake trout fish all the time. What do your fish eat? We ask ourselves that all the time, but very few people actually know. So everybody knows, hey, I'm fishing lake trout, I got to go deep. Right, Devin? Devin's right here, producer right behind us. When we fish lake trout, we got to go deep, huh?
That's what they say.
That's what they say. Got to put on your white tube jig, and you got to go out to 100 feet of water. There's no doubt you're going to catch lake trout doing that. But why are they there? Are the big fish there? What are they feeding on? And nobody seems to understand that. You get caught up in these myths and, hey, I'm supposed to be doing this because that's what the general, consensus is. When in reality, ask yourself what the food source is, go to where the food's at. So if you're in a fishery where, hey, I want to catch a giant lake trout, I want to catch a 20, 30-pound lake trout, my lake trout has to be this big. You have to ask yourself, what does that fish eat? So your young fish might be feeding on bugs and microorganisms and plankton and everything that lives in 100 feet of water. Does a 20-pound lake trout feed on that plankton? On microscopic food? Probably not. So if you're targeting a 20-pound lake trout, you need to know what a 20-pound lake trout feeds on. Is it kokanee salmon? Perfect. If you're in a western fishery like out here in Colorado and Utah and all these places, if they're feeding on kokanee salmon, say, hey, the kokanee salmon are in 35, 40 feet of water, so your lake trout are going to be just below them. If you're like, hey, if these big lake trout are feeding on rainbows and the rainbows are in 10 feet of water, where do you think those big lake trout are going to be? 10 feet of water. The lake trout will always be where their food is. So in lake trout, it gets kind of hard to deal with because you might have a 60-year-old fish that weighs 45 pounds. You might have a 5-year-old fish that is 16, 17 inches. And there's so many year classes that everybody puts them together. And they find those young fish in deep water feeding on a small food source, and they think that's the pattern. But knowing the food is absolutely everything. So I encourage you to think about that because right now, literally, tomorrow I'm going to be hitting the ice, searching out ice. I might not find any yet, but I know that Friday I'll be back on solid ice. There's that cold front hitting. But I'm literally going to go on the search, and for the next 2 weeks, as all of our bodies of water freeze, my favorite time of the year is early ice for those big lakers. So I'm going to spend as much time as possible over the next 2 weeks chasing that early ice and finding these massive fish and taking advantage of that post-spawn opportunity. And that's one of the biggest things that happens. So as this cold front hits, I'm chasing and seeking out those early opportunities on those fish. And we really talk about that because so many anglers don't think about the calendar year. They go to what's hot now. But in reality, I try to plan out my seasons, and I would encourage that. Let's say you're a guy in Minnesota, Wisconsin watching this, and you're like, hey, that early ice, I know it brings on some of the best big bluegills in the fishery. And I know that after 2 weeks on the ice, that they just get cold through and they get beat up, and they're gone. So you need to make those big bluegills your priority of early ice. The same thing for me and these big lake trout. So it's important to look at the calendar year and try to time your bites as they are most crucial, or as they're going to get beat up, or as they're going to be non-existent, whether it's because of timing, because of water temperatures, conditions. fishing pressure, whatever the case may be. There's a lot of things that change the bites as you go forth. So as we do that, always make sure that you're looking at the calendar and taking advantage of the premium opportunities as they exist. For me personally, it's all about those big lake trout. So I'm going to go out strictly seeking these bigger fish. Now we're going to bring our guests on here in a little bit. We got any questions, Devin, before I move on here?
Keep on rolling.
Perfect. Awesome. All right, guys. Now, again, this entire show is built to you guys as the angler. So if you have those questions, you know you got that friend that's struggling fishing, or, hey, I got a buddy that doesn't believe me on this. Chime in right now. Share the feed and make sure you comment below if you have questions. If you have questions, guys, bring them on to us, and I promise you we will answer those questions live and literally just deliver the information that you're seeking. Now, we're going to go to our guest here again just in a couple seconds, so make sure you stay tuned to this. But last thing we want to talk about is as these early ice conditions, or as the new ice forms, and we're built with these new opportunities, taking advantage of them like we just talked about. So, with that being said, let's say I'm going out for these big giant lake trout or this big bluegills. How many of you are ready for those situations? Again, it's something that we talked about, being prepared and things like that, but knowing the food source, knowing how to line up on those spots, and taking advantage of those spots. When I put together the map of the lake, when I'm looking at the contour and I'm planning out those spots, I always plan out the spots that are going to get hit first. So I'm literally going on the ice tomorrow and search for these big giant lake trout, and I'm going to hit the spots that are literally right in front of a parking lot. I'm going to be in the most general area possible because there's still fish there. There's fish in all almost aspects of the water in which you're fishing. The biggest thing that changes that is, generally speaking, fishing pressure. I hate to say it, but so many times us, the angler, move these fish around. So as I get on the ice, I'm going to fish the easiest to fish spots first. And I'm going to hit those hard. And as more people start fishing and everybody starts beating up on it, then it's going to slow down and I slowly start tapering out. I hit the next spot, the next spot, and the next spot. But I literally plan accordingly. I see so many guys that hit early ice and they go straight for the honey hole. They go straight for their secret spot or the small spot. And they blow it out. And then all of a sudden, all the easy access stuff gets blown out. And all of a sudden, you're halfway through the winter and you're literally out of water because you didn't plan accordingly. So again, this works for open water, for ice. Plan your seasons accordingly. Take advantage of those hot bites. And I promise you, you're going to catch more and bigger fish throughout the course of the day. Now, guys, again, coming up here shortly, just in a matter of a couple minutes, we're going to go to a great friend of mine and literally an amazing angler. The guy that catches more big browns, rainbows, steelhead than anybody I personally know. But again, you can't count him out of the game for big smallmouth, big walleye, big pike. The guy is literally a multi-species expert. He's expert. This guy is on that opportunity, and he is catching them. So, guys, without further ado, without a doubt, I am proud to introduce my next guest, Eric Haataja. How you doing, Eric?
Hey, buddy. How's it going? You know what? And we are definitely going to talk about fishing, but you are not going to believe it. I have to share, like, one of the most crazy and unique stories that you are going to believe. Are you ready for this? This is crazy.
I'm ready.
So, you know, I live in West Dallas, Wisconsin, and I'm outside right now. This just happened a little while ago. I got my Christmas lights going, all sorts of fun stuff. Like, hey, Cal, I'm going to try this buck call. And I was like, ah! I made a crazy call. Never did this before in my life. And actually, in my house, came storming in. And right now, I have a whitetail feeding right now in my house. Look at this. A white-tailed deer is call is feeding in my house. Can you believe that? I mean, that's crazy. All right, buddy. I had to goof around a little bit. You know me.
Oh, I love it.
If you can't have
so
fun
literally,
doing what
if you're watching this, he's been my roommate. We've been fishing buddies, and yeah, we call for advice. There's no doubt. You're literally looking right here at the man for that reason right there. I mean, I'm proud to call you friend, buddy. Absolutely. Thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Pleasure to be on the show here live with you. I'm excited to talk to you about trout fishing. I know you're a big trout fisherman out there in Colorado, specifically for that with a bait caster, you know, for that whole chase and stuff, fishing those big tubes, man.
We were just talking about that, how early ice, literally, of anything that I've chased anywhere in the country, those big lakers, especially early ice, they're post-spawn. I've never had a fish that everything you have to cater to, everything you have to beg to take your bait. And a lake trout's the only thing where you're like, I'm going to make them try to catch it. And you try to take it away from them, and you can't do it. And they're after it. It's full-blown chasing a predator. And there's nothing in the world better than that. I mean, when a fish wants it, you don't have to beg them for it. When they actually want it, there's nothing more exciting. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah,
so,
and we're
going to talk real quick.
Yep.
So my question, before we get started, because I have some people here that are following in a Western idea. We have a reservoir. It's small, 2,000 acres. It's every weekend. It went from no pressure to overpressure. But obviously the fish are there. They're not gone. Hardly anybody's keeping them. Everybody's throwing them back. So the fish are there. They just have a lot of pressure. And, talking to a guy who fishes harbors, talking to a guy who, you don't outrun people. I mean, you're around stuff. I promised people I'd ask you this before we got carried away in the show. How do you go about pressure? How do you deal with fishing pressure and that with the fish?
Yeah, and every body of water is a little bit different, and trout can be a really, really spooky, skittishy sort of fish, and they're a big scent feeder. They're a big eye feeder. They'll look, so sometimes to trick them in clear water, we're going down, sizing down to baits that guys, every time, probably the most common thing guys are saying to me is, I cannot believe the size of the hooks you're using to catch these giant trout. Or usually early, they're most aggressive in the first hour or two, usually, okay? So jigging like a spoon, a horizontal bait, things of that nature works great. A plastic, that works great. However, they're also a big, big scent feeder. And for me, I want to catch them any way I can catch them. See that? They're oil-based, and those, they just love them. Now, I tie those up myself. I make them myself. Perfectly legal to use here, but with some of the states and different laws and regulations and VHS and this and that with live bait, I don't know if you guys can use that or not.
We can use secrets.
Okay, here we go. Are you ready? Dun, dun, dun. Wow. You see that? Oh, what's that say? Shrimp.
See, that's the only difference we have. I use salad shrimp and you use the big jumbo. So we're on the same page, just one chapter, one's at the end of the chapter.
So, and you know what we'll do with the shrimp, right? And I'll even take the shrimp and we'll mix it in with some of the eggs, or we'll take shrimp. I don't use a whole piece. That's a raw bag, but I'll use the cooked shrimp. And you can use a stiff rod and pull them in. There's not those quick runs. You get a trout on of any size and they burn that drag. A stiff rod and light line, just something's got to get it. And usually it's always the line that snaps. So guys, you need a soft rod. Hey, I make ice fishing rods specifically for trout, the hot rods that I designed. So guys can come check them out on our website. And you want a trout rod?
What's the website? I mean, I know that I literally a week ago in the hotel room with you, I'm checking out all these rods and jigs. Nobody makes a rod for that. You make a rod for everything in that selection that you can't find anywhere. So where's the information? Where do we go to buy that here before Christmas?
Yeah, I mean, if guys are looking for rods, and man, I've been really, really blessed. This has been the best year ever. I mean, our sales are tremendous right now. We have a 15-year warranty on all our rods. They're custom made. I make the bait caster here. If guys want to fish big tubes and swim baits, so that's what I make. It's a custom bait caster here for lake trout out on the West Coast for all those guys. Then we make the spinning rods, lighter spinning rods. Just really good components that are soft. The difference is our rods, they work in the hook setting device. I specifically made them to work in a jaw jacker. Not every rod will work great in a jaw jacker, and it also works in an automatic Fisherman. So both of those are hook setting automatic Fisherman. They're a hook setting device for, they work better in tip-ups. What happens is that when a trout grabs a tip-up sometimes, resistance, and they'll run with it, and you see that the spindle move, and then they spit it. Maybe 80% of the time. So you're missing 80% of your bites. I learned this 20 years ago before we had hook setting devices. And then I incorporated these hook setting devices. And here's what's great about a hook setting device. You get to fight the fish on a rod and a reel now. You got a kid, you got someone else. It's easier to fight a fish on a rod. So the hook setting devices, for me, and here's the best thing about them. When a fish hits that bait, it sets away. So what does that tell you? If you want to release fish, mortality. The fish are being hooked in the top of the mouth 90% of the time. Doesn't give the fish a chance to swallow it. So if you're big into catch and release like we are for a big trout, and the way we handle them and everything, the hook setting devices, guys, they are important. And I'll tell you what, this product, they're about sold out. I bought them. I buy them just like you guys buy them. Bought them at Bass Pro. They were like $39. And buy them where you can. They're going to be gone.
I think that's huge because, out west, I would say that, it's just what it is. People in Colorado are going to hate me for saying this, but we're very trout, orientated. We have rivers. We have some of the best fly fishing in the country. And we're so into the fly world. We're so into the catch and release world that the bait fisherman is almost looked down upon. Again, I don't want to cause issues. Sure. I don't want to stir the pot, but I love it. Sure. I love bait.
Absolutely.
To me, I'm about catching fish. Whatever I have to do, I don't care if I have to power bait it, if I have to wax worm it, or I have to use artificials. My last trip on the ice, I didn't touch bait and I pounded fish. But whatever the circumstances align for me, that's what I'm going to do to catch fish. And with the negatives on the bait, I think that the hook setting devices of whatever fashion, it's great for that reason. Because I think that the reason you get so negative on the bait is everybody's like, oh, you're killing fish. And with your rod specifically designed for the hook set and a hook setting device, you're still having that amazing catch and release rate, which is cool for everybody that's watching that has a negative effect on bait. Right there, you solve the problem. You're still releasing fish. And nobody cares about fish more than this guy. I promise you that. You love your fish.
Yeah, and and more importantly, it's about the resources, right? We both have kids, and and it's about look. I've been so blessed to be able to do this job, to be a guide, and to work in the industry and meet guys like you and meet so many great people and learn so many good things from so many great people in the industry, man. I tell you what, that it's humbling, it really is to get a chance to do this job and catch and release. For me, it's the future. It's like, I love eating fish. I've got fish out on my smoker right now. I kill deer. I love eating them. I process them myself. Natural resources. And that can be hard in state to state, right? One state, they want to get rid of pike. Another state, they're trying to produce troning. And so, every state's got different biologists with different opinions, with different agendas based on, I want to say, some natural reproduction. But the reality of it is look, we all love fishing. And look, guys, if we want great fishing, there still has to be some stocking, and I know that affects a lot of the purists, but look, for a lot of our fishing here in our states, without that stocking of brown trout or walleye, and then that's it, so our fishing here gets tough. So, but man, we've got a world-class fishery for brown trout. I got to get you here and ice fishing one of these days, buddy.
Absolutely.
We catch some of the biggest browns in the world through the ice. This is the next year because they quit stocking German browns. Okay. This is it, So if you can make it out here in the next year or two, I'm telling you, anyone that wants to come out here and fun fish, put it on your bucket list. The Milwaukee Harbor, our harbors, our shore fishing's great. Our ice fishing's great.
In Wisconsin, as most people travel to, I hate to say it, but I look at you on video and you're using like a 7-foot spinning rod with like a reel that I'd use for walleye, and you're catching kings. It's the videos that I see that are literally, I'm like, I'm with that guy right there. I want to be in his shoes. So, what all do you guide for? Plug yourself real quick. I know there's people watching this, and this is all across the country right now.
What we're doing, I would tell people, look, if you ever wanted to catch giant brown trout, that's probably what I'm known for the most. And that's usually from November. Trolling, jigging, casting, short, you name it. Whatever it takes to catch them. Smallmouth in Green Bay and big walleyes in Green Bay in April and May. And then in the fall time, I'm fishing, kings, a lot of kings, cohos, and browns and that. But I fish for everything, man. I've been full-time for almost going on 20 years. I'm married, have three awesome kids. Kind of feel like the luckiest guy in the world because when you do it, it's just you follow your passion, and it's just I've been really blessed, man. I can't thank. Honestly, it's really awesome to do this as a full-time job. You know what?
Trip on the ice, I didn't touch bait and I pounded fish, but whatever the circumstances align for me, that's what I'm going to do to catch fish. And with the negatives on the bait, I think that the hook setting devices of whatever fashion, it's great for that reason. Because I think that the reason you get so negative on the bait is everybody's like, oh, you're killing fish, you're killing fish. And with your rod specifically designed for the hook set and a hook setting device, you're still having that amazing catch and release rate, which is cool for, I think, for everybody that's watching that has a negative effect on bait. Right there, you solve the problem. You're still releasing fish. And nobody cares about fish more than this guy. I promise you that. You love your fish.
Yeah, and and more importantly, it's about the resources, right? We both have kids, and and it's about look. I've been so blessed to be able to do this job, to be a guide, and to work in the industry and meet guys like you and meet so many great people and learn so many good things from so many great people in the industry, man. I tell you what, that it's humbling, it really is to get a chance to do this job and catch and release. For me, it's the future. It's like, I love eating fish. I've got fish out on my smoker right now. I kill deer. I love eating them. I process them myself. I love eating, right? But I also think it's about selective harvest. I think, and accountability, right? We talk about this a lot, like, hey, times change. Electronics are better. Resources are changing, as they change, so does the natural resources. And that can be hard in state to state, right? I mean, one state, they want to get rid of pike. Another state, they're trying to produce trolling. And so, I mean, every state's got different biologists with different opinions, with different agendas based on, I want to say, some natural reproduction. But the reality of it is look, we all love fishing. And look, guys, if we want great fishing, there still has to be some stocking, and I know that affects a lot of the purists, but look, like for a lot of our fishing here in our states, without that stocking of brown trout or walleye, and then that's it, so our fishing here gets tough. So, but man, we've got a world-class fishery for brown trout. I got to get you here and ice fishing one of these days, buddy.
Absolutely.
I mean, we catch some of the biggest browns in the world through the ice, and this is going to be it. This is the next year, because they quit stocking German browns. Okay. This is it, So if you can make it out here in the next year or two, I'm telling you, anyone that wants to come out here and fun fish, put it on your bucket list. The Milwaukee Harbor, our harbors, our shore fishing's great. Our ice fishing's great. I mean,
in Wisconsin, as most people travel to, I mean, I hate to say it, but I look at you on video and you're using like a 7-foot spinning rod with like a reel that I'd use for walleye, and you're catching kings. It's the videos that I see that are literally, I'm like,
trolling, jigging, casting, short, you name it, whatever it takes to catch them. Smallmouth in Green Bay and big walleyes in Green Bay in April and May, and then in the fall time, I'm fishing, kings, a lot of kings, cohos, and browns, and that. But I fish for everything, man. I've been full time for almost going on 20 years. I'm married, had three awesome kids. Kind of feel like the luck, follow your passion, and it's just, I've been really blessed, man. I can't thank. Honestly, it's really awesome to do this as a full-time job. You know it as well as I do, working as a full-time guide. It's a lot of hard work, man. It's a lot of grinding days. For me, I take pride in going out and finding a lot of new spots and new fish and fishing spots and techniques. And if I can share that stuff with people and pass it on, that's what we're doing, buddy. That's why we did this live video, right?
That's it, man. Man, I had on, and whoever was holding that deer, is that Cal, or who do we have helping out with the video?
What do you mean? Holding what deer? That was a real deer.
Who helped us out in the beginning of the video? All right, whatever. Guys, Eric, 1 second. Devin's telling me I got a second. Hang on.
So we got perfect streaming on our end. Everything looks good on our end, but we got some people complaining about a poor feed. So just want to let everybody know that we'll repost this. We're recording it right now. Yep. So when we're all done, we'll repost it. Apologize for the bad feed. Not sure what's going on.
People are saying that some of the feed's a little. If anything's kind of spotty, we're recording it live now, so we will